Hello, this is Panda Consulting's ArcGIS workshop. I'm Frank Conkling, and welcome to the latest iteration of what we're doing. On this workshop, we're going to be looking at georeferencing inside of ArcGIS Pro. We're going to do it a couple different ways, a couple different times, but I just want to make sure that we cover this. We're sort of backtracking a little bit before we move into our next set of workshops, which are going to be more advanced topics. All right, so the first thing is at the lower right corner is a QR code which takes you to Panda Consulting's website, tells you who we are, what we do, how we do it, why we do it. I also want to remind everybody, Panda Consulting is an ESRI business partner, have been for over 27 years. We also are the first business partner to go and receive the parcel management specialty designation for parcel fabric. And we also have the release ready specialty and the state and local government specialty. So let's look at what are we going to actually do today. So on here, we are looking at our topics today include georeferencing a scanned or image file. We're actually going to go and do PDFs today, sort of look at how ArcGIS Pro handles PDFs. And then we're also going to take a CAD file and georeference that. And it's a little bit different than taking an image file. And we're going to look at the nuances between the two. This should not be a long one, but we'll see what we can do. And hopefully we can have some questions or comments along the way. While I mention that, um, if you are here live, go ahead and put any comments or questions in the chat window. Chris with Panda Consulting is here and he's moderating that, and he'll make sure that I pay attention to it and make sure that we take care of any questions or comments that you might have. All right. First thing is georeferencing a scan image. So over here, I actually have a scan image of a plat. And if I go and open that plat up, just sort of to go and look at this a little bit. If I go in, here it is here. If I go and open that up, it's training. And I think it's this one here, the Chapel Hill. There. That's the image I was looking at. And this is a plat. It's a normal type of plat. And sometimes you're lucky enough to get the CAD file of that plat, but other times you have to go and use the imagery that's on there. And oftentimes it'll be in a PDF format rather than a JPEG or a TIFF, which is the traditional types of formats. So we're going to go and take this PDF and we're going to bring it in to ArcGIS Pro. Now, when you go in and take a PDF and say, go ahead and load that and add that to your current map, it begins interpreting the PDF, and then we'll go and ask you, well, how many pages are there? What resolution do you want that to be brought in as, and how do you want it to be brought in? As resolution has to be greater than 0. Right now, I tend to use 300 DPI for me, and it will go and convert that into an image that it can use. If it's a multi-page PDF, it will go and only bring in that one page that you're looking at. It then goes and notes, it says, okay, this is an unknown coordinate system here. Matter of fact, if we go and display that, it doesn't display, but if we go and zoom to that, we can go and zoom to that layer and we actually see that it's actually been brought in, but since it doesn't have a coordinate system, it doesn't know where to put that. So the georeferencing portion of it begins here. When we go and have an image file, whether it's a JPEG or a TIFF or any type of image file or a PDF, we'll go and if we go and click on imagery for that layer and click on georeference, it brings up the georeferencing toolbar for us. That georeferencing toolbar, we can do a couple things, such as we can tell it to take that image and move it into our display. So it goes and attempts to fit it in as close as possible into the display. So we can see that this is still horizontal in here. And we'll go and so now the closest thing is to figure out where that's supposed to go, where that's supposed to fit. So let's go and turn it off for a minute and redisplay here. And I believe it's supposed to be right in here is where it's actually going to be displayed. So we can go in here and look at it and say, okay, this point here probably goes here. And if we look, there's a bend in here on this line here, and it's probably this bend here. So we could begin to go and add control points. Now, control points are really linkages or references between them. So if we say, let's add a control point, all right, the first control point is going to be that point there, all right, and we're going to go and tell it, add a control point, that point there, and we're going to tell it that we want to put that point on this point here. When we do that, the software will automatically try to move it and rotate it so that that point goes and is located there. We then go and move to our next point that we believe we're going to be putting it to. See, this point here is supposed to correspond to this point here. Now, just as a note, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you don't take points that are close to one another, but rather almost look at it geometrically and say, we want to take points on the other side of our scanner, of our image, and try to see how close that can occur. By the way, you can see this is now actually attempting to rotate this and to visualize it for us as we're going. This is a PDF on 300 dots per inch, so it's a fairly high resolution. Next thing we do once we get this to display is I'm going to go and identify this point here on both the scan and then in our data and sort of refine this georeferencing that's going on. All right. By the way, you can see this is all being done live. And it is just taking a while for it to go and do this. Normally isn't taking that long, but it is taking a while. On here, let's look at this control point table. All right, there we go. So now let's go down to here. It is having issues displaying that PDF in there. When I have an issue with this, so often what I'll do is I'll go and convert that PDF, at least that one page, into just a simple JPEG or PNG or a TIFF, and then use that and reference that. All right, so here now is the next point. And the question is this a right-of-way coming off here? Almost looks like it is, because this appeared to be close. So let's go and say that this point, well, let's go and move it to there. Let's see what happens then. Actually, that was not it. There wasn't another one there. So let's bring up this table and look at it now and say, okay, well, this one here, let's go and take that latest one that we input and delete that. And that will delete that control point that we just created so that we can refine this a little bit more. Again, we do have to wait for it to redisplay itself. All right, so it looks like it is supposed to be. There is no point here. So let's do it along here. This point is supposed to be here. Now, while we're looking at this table here, as we're going and creating these points, it gives us what is the source X and the source Y inside of the drawing itself. And then what is the map X and the map Y on there? And then it's calculating what sort of the transformation is. In this case, I'm doing a first order affine transformation, and it will tell us what sort of residuals you might have on here. A residual is attempting to go and place this as close as possible. And as we get more points in here, as we get better redundancy in here, it will go and display for us how close some of these are. Let's cancel that. All right. So again, let's do one final one here, which we go from here to here. By the way, those of you that were here during our last workshop, you'll notice that last time we used a CAD file in this area, and it showed us that um, our original mapping right now is slightly off, and we couldn't go and use it. We had to do a lot of adjustments on our drawing file to make it match the CAD, and that's exactly what we're seeing here with this PDF of the plat, which was created off of that. So by the way, I did want to go and show you and create at least one that's a little bit off just to show you that as we create these redundant points in here, it will show us the actual residuals for them and how far off they might be. And if we look at these first three in here, these first three that I placed, they seem to be a good fit. But if I take that second one that I put, and by the way, as I click on it down on my table, it highlights it. And when I go and delete that one, I might wind up with a slightly better fit. Again, I only have 3 points here. I might wind up with a slightly better fit. And you want to continue to look at your residual and try to eliminate those that have a high residual and get down as close as you can to zero on them. So I'm satisfied with this as far as my image on here. So what I want to do is I want to go and save this out. Now, when I go and save this out, what it's actually doing is it's actually creating on in my folder, it's creating a world file. Let's see if we can actually go over there and find that world file. Let's go up here. And I'm not seeing it there. I don't see the world file here, but there, oh, there it is right there. There's a world file here, which is the resolution. It actually is creating a world file, which gives us the scaling and rotation and orientation for this. It's created that georeferencing so that now I can actually take this out of my drawing and bring it back in. Whenever I bring it back in, it will read that world file and put it in the same place as it was before. Once I'm done with this georeferencing, I can go and say, close this georeferencing, and it will close it out, and I'll be done with it. To prove that it will keep that in here, I just went and removed that PDF from here. And now when I go and tell it to go and add this to my map again, oh, let's see, is this only temporary? Ah, one thing, the PDF, it does a temporary, it doesn't necessarily go and retain that. That's why I didn't see the world file in there. So again, real quickly, I can go to imagery, georeference. I can then go and let's go through going through and redisplaying here. I can tell it to fit into the display. I think because I've done this a couple times. There you go. And it brought it in with that same georeferencing on it. All right. So it did remember it. It might have stored it inside of there. I'm not quite sure how they're doing that. But it gives me the georeferencing exactly as I did it on here. So a CAD or an image file, and it does again, it doesn't matter whether it's a TIFF or JPEG or PNG or PDF, it can go and bring that image file in and place it for you using georeferencing. And you want to just try to get it as close as possible when you go and do it. Now, if I were to go in and be looking to build these parcels, I could then go and zoom in here and start actually reading the actual bearings and distances of my parcel as I was going through. So it's very helpful. Even if you're just not digitizing it, maybe you're just building it. We'll often go and take plats and georeference them behind where we're actually going to be building it so that we have a reference and we don't have to keep looking off screen onto a piece of paper somewhere. All right. Any questions on georeferencing of an image file and some of the components of that? By the way, I often have a question. Well, what happens if I want to go in and change the symbology, or maybe I want this to be a different color when I'm going in and putting it in place? I can go and do that by looking at it and doing either stretches or RGB on here, um, as far as how I want to go and symbolize this. So symbolize your desk. Um, Displays your vectors. As you can tell, I don't mind going in and experimenting. We often call this spelunking. That's not what I want to do. What about a stretch? Go and put a stretch in here, and I can go and tell it maybe to inverse this and put certain values in here. Let's leave it at that. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a CAD file. In this case, let's go over to another area in here. And we brought a CAD file in from this Patrick's Point. And as you recall from last time, a CAD file, when we bring it brings in the different feature layers of here, in which it brings, here's the annotation layers, here's the point layers, the multi-point layers, the polylines, the polygons, and multi-paths. And as I turn this on, it will go and display in here where it is. Now, this looks close enough, and I'll often go and use it right in this place, but because I want to illustrate how to georeference a CAD file, I'm going to go and move this a little bit just to show you. Now, if I am on a CAD file, for example, if I'm any of the components of a CAD file, if you watch the ribbon up here and watch as I go and move off of that CAD file on here, that CAD data layer will disappear. And as I go and click on any of these, I still have my CAD data. So let's go to the polylines in here. And when I go to CAD, I can georeference my CAD file. And I'm going to go in here, and there's a couple points in here. Well, I'm going to say, well, I want to add a control point, and that this point is supposed to be here. Now notice the one thing you didn't have is you didn't have where you can move it to your display, but I was close enough I didn't bother doing that. And when I go over here and I go over to this point here, I will say that this point here is supposed to go to here. Now, nothing's done anything on here because it's not being done automatically. But when I hit apply, it will actually go and move those. There's a differences between a scanned image and taking a CAD file. Scanned image, you can put multiple points in here. Matter of fact, the more redundant points you have, or the more different points you have in there, the better your residual values. With a CAD file, you only get 2 points that you can go into your reference when you're inputting them in. So I've put my two georeference points in here and here, and I'm now going to tell it to go and apply those. And you'll note it actually went and moved them around on here. If you note, it took this point and it scaled and rotated them to fit on here. If I go back and look, I'll say, well, that's not really where I wanted it to be. So if I reset it, I can reset it to that. Maybe there's a better point over here somewhere that I can use. I can add a control point here to here. All right. And then maybe add a point over here and say this point on the curve goes to that point there. And with a CAD file, again, you only get 2 points and you have to tell it to go and apply that. And you can apply it. Now I know that our data, our GIS data right here isn't as well situated as I would hope for. So I'm actually warping the CAD file to try to fit it into the GIS data. But this was a pretty good CAD data set that we had. So I normally wouldn't do that. But again, I then go and say, save this to your reference. It says you've already got a Word file out there because I did this one time. And then I can just close it out and now it will keep that CAD file exactly where it is. It will apply the scaling and rotation to that as I need it. All right. So what we've done is we've taken an image and georeferenced it, brought it in, georeferenced it, and then we also took a CAD file and georeferenced it. So the question is there any comments or anything that you want me to explore a little bit more? Please put it in the chat window now.
There isn't anything there right now.
Thank you. I don't see any. If not, then let's go ahead and stop this workshop and stick around and we can go and talk more as we're done. Thanks.